as is always the case. So, all right, well, hello and welcome. Week 10, Wednesday. And so, week 10, I like to just kind of do stuff that I think is kind of cool. And so I went to PyCon earlier this year, and there was a lot of cool stuff. And too much, I can't fit everything in here. So, but I attended a workshop that covered web scraping with ScrapePy, and yeah, I know you want to call it Scrapey, but I guess it's pronounced ScrapePy to go with the Python thing, and so we'll take a look at this. Basically, the ScrapePy documentation and stuff is going to be very helpful, and then there are also these kind of notebooks and scripts that were written for the PyCon tutorial, and I've linked to that GitHub repository as well. Okay, you'll need ScrapePy install, and you can do that via pip or conda. And I think in this class I told everybody to install Anaconda or something, either Conda or Miniconda or whatever. And so you can do that doing conda install, and then you'll have to, just because the main kind of Anaconda thing channels are a little bit slow to update, so you'll probably want to do Conda Forge, which is a little bit more community driven, and you can put in ScrapePy there. Okay. So ScrapePy, you have to kind of interact with it using the ScrapePy command line tool, and so you'll do a few things. And so one thing that you'll need to do is you will have to run this command, ScrapePy start project, and then you put in basically your project name. And so for this, my project name is ScrapePy demo. And I've already done this. And so when you do that, it creates a folder. Okay, it creates a folder in your in the directory that you're working, called your project name. Okay, and so here it created this folder ScrapePy demo. And then if you did a git pull, it's going to have the ScrapePy demo folder in there, and then within that folder, okay, it will have a ScrapePy configuration file. It will not have this quotes.csv. This is something that I guess I created last night as I was playing around, so that ended up in the folder, but it won't have that. And then it'll have another ScrapePy folder in there that will come with some Python scripts, and then there will be another folder called spiders. Okay, and spiders is where you're going to write your I guess scripts that will then go out and crawl the internet to download stuff. Okay, or to do web scraping. Oh, maybe I need to back up and just talk about web scraping. Web scraping is the idea of you going out to a website and then trying to copy data from that website so you can kind of work with it. You want to be, I guess, careful and polite when web scraping. Okay, so when you're a human, so most of these websites are designed so that a human can visit the page on their browser and get the information that you need. And so as a human, when you go to a website, it takes a couple seconds to read and process information and click a link and things like that. When you have a computer do web scraping, it can kind of go through these things like instantly, very, very, very quickly. And your computer gives itself away as a bot every single time. And a lot of websites do not like robots scraping their thing. And so, they have kind of different permissions and things like that for robots. So, humans get special treatment and the robots get separate treatment, and they have to kind of go on the robots line and things like that. So I guess before you start scraping a website, you should check to see if it has a robots file, and robots.txt will kind of reveal its policies regarding how web scraping is allowed, or perhaps it's not allowed, or things like that. So most sites allow robots, because if you don't allow robots, then you will not appear on Google, because the way Google works is it has a whole bunch of these spider robots going out, crawling the internet the whole time and reporting back to Google what's going on, and this is how Google indexes a page. And basically, if you say no robots allowed, Google's spider will come to that website and go, oh, okay, I will not go to your web page, and therefore it doesn't get indexed, and you will not show up on any sort of search engine. And so most websites allow for robots, because most websites do want to appear in Google's search results. But if you were like, I need a secret website, then you could say no robots, and then you won't appear in kind of search engine results. But at that point, like, why bother even creating a domain, right? You could just have your secret server and secret IP address, and do it that way. Okay, but anyway, just be respectful. A lot of sites also have anti, like, DDoS attacks things. You got these things like Cloudflare that basically says, like, if a high amount of traffic's coming from one IP, we're going to just block that or rate limit the IP and things like that. So if you took 102A with me, there was like a little exercise where you had to do a little bit of web scraping, and if you didn't run a polite session, you might have encountered this problem and stuff. But anyway, actually, I haven't tried it with ScrapeEye yet to see how it handles being polite. Okay, but anyway, when you create a ScrapeEye project, okay, so here I called it ScrapeEye demo. You're gonna have these different things, and you've got basically these different things that handle different aspects. Okay, so and you can open up any of these things, and so right now there's kind of nothing really defined. Okay, if you look at these are all the middleware has some basic stuff. A lot of these times you don't really have to modify anything, but you'll get these kind of files that have outlines for you to then modify if you do want to modify any of these things. Okay. Oh, shoot. Okay, and then lastly, you have spiders, and this is probably the thing that you will certainly have to modify. The other ones you probably don't have to modify as much, but you can. Okay, we are going to scrape this site, quotes.toscrape.com. Okay, so this is like a play sandbox website. You can go to toscrape.com, okay, and it says web scraping sandbox, and there's kind of two subsets, and one is the fictional bookstore, okay, that wants to be scraped, and it kind of has all of these things, and you can go through and scrape different information. So it's kind of, it's set up as a pretend what do you call it, website here. Okay, just so you can kind of go through, and it it has stuff like products you recently viewed and things like that, and a fictional star rating for the thing, but with this disclaimer that they didn't want the authors of these things like saying, hey, why did my book only get 1 star? So it's got all that, and you can kind of scrape that, okay? And then there's another site called Quotes, okay? And this is kind of much simpler as far as what you want to do, and you can scrape it. But one thing that's interesting about Quotes is that they have all kinds of different forms that allow you to kind of practice scraping these different types of things. So one is if you go to scroll quotes quotes.toscrape.com/scroll, you will get a page that implements kind of infinite scroll. Okay, and so scraping a page that has infinite scroll kind of comes with its own challenges. But a lot of kind of websites these days implement infinite scroll, right? Like you go on Instagram or Facebook, they're all designed to kind of have this infinite scroll because guess what? That keeps users more tuned in longer to their web page. Okay, but you also have things where the content is created via JavaScript, or the content is delayed, or things like that, and they all kind of come with its own challenges here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to scrape quotes.toscrape.com, and so once you're inside your the Scrapey demo folder, so you navigate to your Scrapey demo folder, you will call Scrapey gen spider. That will generate a spider. You give your spider a name, so we're going to call this the quotes spider, and then we will give it I guess a domain, quotes.toscrape.com. Okay, and so that will create a quotes.py quotes.python file here. Okay, so this one has already been kind of modified, but it'll start off with kind of just a very basic definition of the name along with an allowed domain there. Okay, and then you will have to then go in and edit that spider file to then be able to go to the website and scrape it. So we are going to just scrape this quotes.toscrape.com, and what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll scrape each of these pages. So within a page, it's helpful to know a little bit of like how content is rendered, and so you can look at the HTML content. So you can most web pages you can right click and do view page source. Okay, and if you look at the page source, you will frequently see, let me magnify this, okay, the content generated, okay, using, say, divs. Okay, divs are like little divisions on the website, and so so here it says we have a div, a div, and that it is class quote. Okay, and then within that we have class text, we have class author, and we have class tags. Okay, and the text is the quote itself. So you can look at, so on this website we have, the world is, we have created it as a process, blah blah blah. Okay, and then it's by Albert Einstein, and it comes with these tags and things like that. And so this is what we have. Okay, and so so we have these different divs and we have these different spans, and each of these things have different classes. Okay, so so what we want is we want to kind of pull the content from from this thing. Okay, and you can see kind of the next quote is also formatted in a similar way. Okay, and so you have a quote along with text and things like that, and so I guess we got multiple Einstein quotes, Jane Austen quote, Marilyn Monroe, things like that. Okay, all right, and so what we will do is we will, I guess we'll go through what the quotes.spider looks like so that you can kind of pull each of these things. Right. So this thing I've kind of commented a lot on basically each of these lines here. So when you look at the so here I've just added comments, but this is the original thing. So within the quotes.python script, you define a class. Okay. So here we're going to create a new kind of user class, and we're going to call this the quotes spider. Okay, or here why do I have a quote spider? Okay, quote spider. Okay, and so this is going to be a spider bot that's going to scrape quotes. Okay, and this inherits from scrapeye.spider. Okay. And scrapeye.spider has kind of its own kind of methods and things like that. We give it a name. This is just how we're going to refer to the spider when we run it from the command line. Okay. It's recommended that you include allowed domains, and you put in kind of basically websites that it's allowed to scrape from a domain, and that's if you don't do this and you have something like, follow a link. Okay, so on a spider, you often tell the spider, follow a link, go to the next page, and scrape data from that page. Sometimes it will click a link that takes it to another web page, and then it will start trying to scrape other things, and then you might have unleashed a spider, and so to kind of avoid inadvertently or accidentally scraping sites that you didn't want to scrape, okay, you put in something like allowed domains, and that will kind of just restrict it. Like, okay, if you find yourself going to a different domain, just stop, type of thing, right? Because it's not that like you yourself are not allowed to do any of these things, but it's like the spider is an automated thing, and it's not thinking, and it's just going to go. So it sometimes goes to the wrong website. Okay. Here we're going to say start at this page. We're going to start at quotes.toscrape.page 1. That's going to be I guess the starting page that we'll start at. Okay, and then we'll do that. Okay, and you can give it multiple pages or whatever. The start URLs, you can give it multiple things. And then within this class that you're defining, you'll need at least one method called parse. Okay, and the parse method will take into this argument the response. Okay, and the response object is basically when it is basically going to be the content of the page. So when it hits a web page, what it receives back is basically all of this HTML content. Okay, and I mean this is what your browser is receiving as well. When you go to a web page, that the computer server is sending back all of this content, and then your computer just knows, like, okay, the human doesn't want to read it like this, but basically all of this HTML is instructions on how to like make your content appear, and it gets rendered like this, which is easier for a human to read. But what it's reading in is all of this, and so the robot in the response gets all of this. Okay, and all of the information we have is kind of hidden in this, or not hidden, but found in this kind of data structure of all of these divs and tags and things like that. Okay, and HTML is the ML in HTML is called a markup language, which basically just says like turn this text into bold, turn this text into a link, or things like that. But all of the information is kind of in there, and it's basically we want to say, all right, look for these things and grab the information. Okay, so what we're going to tell it is we're going to say we want to go through that response. Okay, and within the response we're going to use a CSS tag. Now there's a few options you can use. So you don't have to look at CSS. You can look at kind of its like X tag structure, like XML. Look at these things like that. But here we'll use the CSS tags. Okay, and in this case we're going to look for divisions with class quote. Okay, and so when you look at this, we're going to look for anything with a div tag and a class quote. Okay, so that's what we're going to say. So we're going to say go to response.css div.quote, and that's going to find basically all of the div elements with class quotes, and we're going to iterate over each of those. Okay, because for each of these things we've got all of these quotes, we want to go through and we want to scrape the quotes and the author and the tags and things like that. Okay, so for each of those things we want to extract something. Okay, and so within this thing we need to have a yield. Okay, so every spider you need to have a parse method, and then within the parse you need to have yield somewhere in there. Okay, this other stuff that we have, like the next page and even the for loop, is optional, but you definitely need to have at least a parse and a yield. Okay, and so here we're going to say for each quote we want to extract this kind of stuff. Okay, the yield basically sets up a dictionary. Okay, the dictionary is going to be your key, and so we have 3 keys: text, author, and tags. And you can think of this as kind of like column headings. So we're going to have a column of the text, we're going to have a column for the author, we're going to have a column for the tags. Okay, what is the thing that we want to extract from the quote? Okay, so now that we're iterating over quotes in response.css, when we look at the thing, we are limiting ourselves just to this. Okay, so response.css with div.quote is going to yield basically an iterable where each item is going to be div class quote. Okay, so each item is going to be div class quote, and then once we hit div class quote, we're going to look at the CSS within this, and we want to extract out. Basically, we want to get this thing, the world as we have created it. Okay, so that's going to be in the span class, or in the span, and then we want to get, this is a tiny bit confusing, but the class here is called text. So we want to go to span.text, okay, to indicate we want to get the span element with class text. Okay, and then within the span class, there's different kinds of stuff. Okay, you can get, I gotta look up the documentation, but there's different kind of things, and here we just want to get the text within this span. Okay, so the span, span tag has an opening and closing tag. There's a slash span, and so the text in between the opening and closing span tags is known as our ScrapePy calls the : text. So that's what That's what this is. So span tag, class text, and within that, just get the text element. Okay, and then we're going to call .get, and that will pull that information, and that's going to set that to text. Okay. Similar thing for if we want to get the author name. Okay, if we want to say, all right, Albert Einstein, we're going to go to Albert Einstein. That information is right here. That's within the small tag. Okay, and this small tag has class author. So within here, we're going to go to small.author : text, and we want to get that. And then I got tags. So we also want to extract out all of these tags. We're going to get change, deep thoughts, thinking, and world. All right, and those are found within div class tags. Okay. So we're going to do div.tags, and within div tags, notice here we have a variable amount. So some quotes have like 4 tags, this quote has 2 tags, this quote has 5 tags, and that's because in the source, within div class tags, you have several A tags, anchors. Okay, you have these A elements, anchor elements. Okay, each of them class tag. And so to say like you want to get each of these things, your quote spider, you're going to do div.tags, and within them you have a.tag, and then we're going to pull the text there. Okay, we're going to get change, deep thoughts, thinking, and world. Okay, I guess we could have also gone to the meta class and pulled out this content here. Maybe we might have been able to do that. Okay, but here, because we have multiple, we're going to do a .get all, right? And this will kind of create like a little, I guess, a little list or tuple that it will then kind of insert into the tags column. And well, we could stop there, okay? But what we want it to do is we also want it to go to the next page, okay? So if I did not include lines 18 through 20, it would scrape all of this stuff on the first page here, okay? And that would work. But we can also have it keep going, and we can say, all right, once you reach the end of the page, we want you to go to the next page. Okay, we want you to go to the next page. And so if you scroll towards the end, you want to say, all right, find this thing called next, right? Find this the next page. So how are we going to find that? Okay, so basically we want it to follow this link. Okay, this is the reference, and it's going to take us to /page2. Okay, and so we want to say, hey, find within the response, look for li.next. Okay, a list element. Okay, so look for a list element with class next. Okay, which is right here. And then within that list element class next, look for the a tag, which is this, and look up the h reference. Okay, so here we're not pulling the text, but within that anchor tag, the a tag, what we want to pull out is the href attribute. Okay, so here it says attribute href. All right, and that's what we're gonna get, and basically we're gonna get just this /page2, but that's basically a link, right? If I click this, this will take me to page 2 on the quotes to scrape thing. Okay, so we will get that, and that's going to be basically the link next page, and it says as long as next page is not none, which will happen if you reach, I think there's 10 pages. Let me see. So if I go to page 9, there's still a next, and there's a previous, and then at page 10, there's no more. Okay, there's no more here. And so if I look at the source, okay, so here I have a list li element class previous, but I have nothing for class next. So that's going to yield a none. Okay, so as long as it's not none, then we can give the spider the command to go to the next page. Okay, so we could say follow a link. What is the link we're going to follow? Follow the page to next page there, and then once you do that, okay, call parse on itself. Okay, so follow that and then call parse on itself. Okay, so that is the quote spider. And then so now you will want to run this. Okay, and so you can call scrapey crawl, and then you give it the spider name, and here our spider name is quotes, so we will call quotes, and then you do -o. -o says where do you want this output to go. Okay, and then here we want it to store it into a CSV file, so we're going to say quotes.csv. But it also supports other outputs like JSON, so you can do quotes.json, quotes. I think you can create a text file and things like that. Okay, you can do lowercase o. If that file exists, it will append to the file. Capital O will overwrite anything, and it will just delete the existing file and overwrite it. So I hope this works. So we will call scrapey. Wait, now we want to write crawl quotes -o quotes.csv. Okay, so we're going to call crawl quotes dash. Here I'm going to do -O, and we'll do quotes.csv. All right, so it's running, and attribute object has no attribute. I got an error here. Did I break something? All right, close tab. All right, well, that's disappointing. Let me see. All right. Scrapey demo spiders. All right, so what? Let me just try it. Doesn't like it. Okay. Let me copy this, create a new text file, put this over here. Let me just create a new folder. All right, so we're going to do scrapey create project. Okay, we'll call it demo2. Am I doing this wrong? Oh, start project. And we're going to do demo2, and then we'll do scrapey gen spider quotes, and we'll do quotes.toscrape.com. Okay, so we're going to go to demo2. All right, so let me just try. All right, demo2 spiders. Here's my quotes spider here, and then let me paste this in here. So this is my parse. All right, let me just try saving that. All right. ScrapePy crawl demo to quotes -o quotes.csv. Oh, it's still bot name demo2 using Telnet console listening to this. Scrape 0 pages. Spider opened. Installation at asyncio select rector has no object attribute. Okay, I don't know. Is it working for anybody? Is anybody else trying something? Let me. Erwin crawl. Okay, I might have to reinstall my ScrapePy. Sorry, it's always some kind of issue here. Things that are good to know. Troubleshooting. Pip install twisted. After you install or upgrade ScrapePy, you might get a exception. Reinstall twisted. Oof, I don't know if I want to do this, but okay. All right, let me shut down Jupyter here. Let me do conda install. Let me just reinstall ScrapePy. Okay, well, it's still trying to. I'm trying to reinstall ScrapePy to see if that will resolve the issue. But I think it should work once I get it to go. I wanted to just point out something about the scroll. Like when you have infinite scroll, what do you do for a site like this? Okay. You can look up your developer tools, okay? And that's going to pull up this kind of side pane. And within the developer tools, one of the things will be network, okay? And these are all of the calls that the website makes to the network. So you're going to see when it reaches the bottom of the page, okay, it makes a call and it gets stuff from quotes.toscrape.com/API/quotes ? Page 2 from here. And then as I scroll further down, okay, it makes another call to get pages 3 and 4. And as I scroll further down, it makes a call to get pages 5 and 6. Okay, so this gives us an indication of where we might want to get information. Okay, so because when we run our bot, we want it to also get the information from this thing, quotes.toscrape/API quotes ? Page 4 here. Okay, it's still stuck. All right. So let me go to cheat here. Okay, so within so at the tutorial that I attended at PyCon, he gave us some exercises, and so exercise 2 was to try to go and figure out how to get the API thing. And so the solutions here, this yields how to get the stuff. So the information when it makes a call, okay, to these API/quotes pages 3, page 4, and so on and so forth, okay, we can get that response kind of in JSON form. In JSON form, it's a slightly different form, but it's very similar to kind of the CSS. And we can say quote get the text thing, or from the author get the name and things like that. And then and here we format the request. Okay. We're going to say start requests. We define this method called start requests, where it yields the request. And here we get information from quotes.toscrape/API quotes ? Page equals something. All right, so this is going to give us kind of the URL that we want. Okay, and so here we use basically just this this URL here. Okay, and we use the dot format to fill in page with either page 1 or page 2 or page 3. Okay, so self.api.url is just this string, and we did string format with page equal to 1, 2, or something. Okay, and so we will start there. All right, and then we can later on request to extract with the kind of the next page, current page plus 1. Right, so has next. So this is, I think, a good kind of reference as far as like, okay, how do I want to format my requests to some kind of API that uses infinite scroll? Is that you take a look at under the developer tools. Okay, so you go to so on the page. You go to more tools and you open up your developer tools, and within developer tools there's probably going to be a tab for network, and on that network tab you can kind of see what kind of requests get made. And then so once you understand where the requests are coming from and where the information is coming from, you can then format your spider to go and crawl that. Okay, all right. I don't know, my Conda is stuck as far as updating my ScrapeEye, so I think I have to reinstall ScrapeBy here, but that's unfortunate. I wanted to have a live demo that worked, but live demos sometimes break on you. So, okay, all right. Well, we are out of time, but we'll wrap things up here, and see you guys on Friday then.